Hi everyone, this is Arcadius and welcome back to Naval Creed. Today we'll be going over the newest American battleship, and it is also the first Prism American battleship that's been released in the game. This is the Michigan, and I have renamed her Virginia since she just looks like a Virginia to me. She's kind of a mix between a Iowa and a Massachusetts, and she has advantages and disadvantages of both. Also, she kind of has like Rhode Island guns just tossed onto her. Yep, she has 18s. So let's take a look at our general stats. We have 86,700 health, a 27% torpedo damage resistance, over 20 inches of armor altogether, but on the belt we have about 16 or just under 16. That being said, it may sound like a lot, but she still has the Iowa kind of armor, where if you shoot directly on the broadside or right underneath the turrets, you're going to get a lot of citadels, and it's not unheard of me to just be one-shotting these ships. So try and keep the best angle you can, but it's never always going to work. Moving on to the guns, we have 18-inch guns or 457s and 3 triples ranged 2-4, 1 aft, kind of like an Iowa or a Massachusetts. You can see the stats here. These are, I'm pretty sure, the same guns we see on Rhode Island or Maine, depending on what name you want to use. Actually, they're slightly different. Looks like the armor piercing velocity is a little bit less. But we still have really, really good guns no matter what. You do a ton of damage with these guns, let me tell you. Even her fire chance is really good. If you want to use high explosive, you're going to get at least 1 or 2 fires every salvo. I don't use high explosive too often unless I'm shooting a really, really angled ship, because armor piercing is just that good, but you still have at least that option. Main gun range is 23.8 kilometers, secondary range is 6.3 kilometers. I do have some buffs to my secondaries as a captain skill, and most of the time I actually use my main guns to do a lot of damage against the target and let my secondaries finish it up. Or even just let them go to town on destroyers and stuff. They're pretty useful against heavily damaged cruisers as well. They're not exactly as good as Illinois secondaries, and pretty sure they're just normal American secondaries like you would find on Iowa and Missouri. But that being said, they can still be pretty useful if you know how to use them right. Best is to keep them at max range, because the higher the arc of the shells, the better chance that they're going to hit the superstructure and actually do damage instead of hitting the belt armor on a flat trajectory at close range and just shattering altogether. But definitely wouldn't recommend her being a full secondary ship. That's not what I'm going for there. AA defense is actually pretty decent as well. I have some buffs to my AA defense. Haven't really come under carrier attack all that much, but I'd still say she has a lot of AA. Speed is one of the main things that she will struggle with. She only has a max speed of 27.5 knots. Now, it is still technically faster than Yamato at 27 knots, but you're still not going to get anywhere as fast as Iowa at 33 knots. I do have a little bit of health buffs and speed buffs and all that jazz, so I do get close to 30 knots with her, but still, it still feels like I'm crawling along. She gets a few fighters as well. There you go. So yeah, all in all, I actually really do like this ship. There's nothing bad about her at all. You even have a special American damage control party if you really wanted to, and just a normal repair. But yeah, nothing bad about this ship at all. Nothing necessarily special. Like I said, she's kind of a mix between an Iowa and a Massachusetts, or at least that's how it feels to me. Um, but both of those ships are really good ships, so as long as you don't show broadside, you should have no problem at all. So let's toss her into a game and see how we can do. All right, let's see what we have for a game today. We have a Frederick de Gross, we have a Missouri, another Frederick de Gross, a Virginia, and all of this, it's a Cow, a Worcester, and a Fletcher. No carrier, but that's fine with me. It's always a good game if there's no carrier in there to annoy you. A lot of battleships, we're pretty good against battleships. Cruisers, we can pretty much one-shot them, honestly. And destroyers, I've just let my secondaries go to town on them. As mentioned, I do have health buffs and speed buffs. That's why I have cracked 100,000 health points with this ship. She doesn't normally do. And let's begin. Not really the biggest fan of this map, but we have what we have. Let's see. The French and the Germans. Alright, but yeah, so strengths, she has really good armor-piercing shells, really fast armor-piercing shells as well for an American battleship. Good high explosive shells for her main guns that can set quite a few fires if you really wanted to use her as an HE spammer. You're not going to get as much damage, but you'll get a lot of fire damage that way. AA is pretty good. Secondary's pretty respectable as well. Maybe even a little bit better than Iowa or Missouri. I haven't really figured that out. I guess with their slower speed, your secondaries have more time to shoot at a target, so they feel like they're doing more. Iowa and Missouri, you just kind of get out of dodge really quickly before your secondaries can do much of anything. But nothing there. Maneuverability is really good. Armor, if you know Iowa, you know how to play this ship, honestly. Though you are a little bit bigger, so you're an easier target. And then your speed is going to be a little bit worse as well. As you can see, I'm barely cracking 30 knots with all my buffs applied. And then Missouri is just like racing on by there. Alright, so we have our first target. We can see here Alsace and Frente de Gros. I'm going to wait for this Freddy to give me some more broadside here. Now these 18-inch guns, they definitely do hurt. That should be good enough. Straighten up so I don't hit Missouri. I could have gone after the Worcester, but I decided not to. It doesn't look like my aim was that good, but I citadeled a Frede de Gros with the very first shot I hit her with. How many battleships can really do that, honestly? Alright, let's send the next salvo out, or at least the front turrets. I haven't played the ship in a while. I've been testing the British cruisers, so it might take me some time to get used to it again, but that's already 30,000 damage on this Frede de Gros, and that's 2 salvos. And one of those wasn't even a full salvo. And there goes the secondaries. Like I said, I do have a little bit of a buff to them. Another 16,000 damage. Alright, so we have a Missouri now. Let's see what we can do against her. They're not necessarily known for their strong broadside armor. Yep, we got a Citadel, 27,000 damage. Now let's wait for the German battleship to pass, and then we'll finish up this Missouri. There we go. Alright, secondaries are opening up again. Well, they were. How's that Missouri? 3 Citadels, 51,000. Well, actually, more than that. 4 Citadels. Awesome. Let's finish up some of these cruisers first. And so there's the Worcester. 7 pens, and she actually didn't get a Citadel. That's surprising. But she's still not going to survive for very long. Okay, here's a good chance. Here is an enemy Virginia. Well, she was giving me good broadside, but she's kind of facing me now. My secondaries are going to be opening up. As you can see, they're not exactly accurate. But if you're close enough to a target, then it doesn't really matter. We're going to wait for this Virginia to give us a good broadside angle. And then we're going to slam 9 18-inch shells into her side and test out her armor. Yep, there you go, 61,000 damage. 3 Citadels. So you can kind of see right off the bat, you don't want to give broadside. Now, if that was in Iowa, I would probably say that'd be a deletion right there. She would have been sunk. Virginia at least survives long enough to get another salvo. And there she goes with 2 more Citadels. So yeah, your broadside armor, not really the best at all. Alright, so we have Alsace and the Germans. Yeah, Alsace is another one that doesn't really have the best broadside armor, so let's see if we can get some good citadels on her. Let's aim underneath the turrets, trying to get that barbette through the nose armor. No citadel, but still 31,000 damage. This ship is just a powerhouse of damage, honestly. Alright, we are in secondary range of Alsace, but not in secondary range of the Germans yet. And now we are. That's alright. Still no citadels. Interesting. You can kind of see how secondary hits do take a lot of damage from you. I'm just kind of wilting away over here. But that's fine. I have the health to deal with this for right now. 9 pens, ton of damage. Like I said, you have 18-inch guns. You're pretty much just a Yamato with better AA. And honestly, that's the one weakness that Yamato has, if you know how to play with their armor. There goes that one. Now, also this is kind of giving me a better angle, so let's see if we can do anything there. Ooh, nice. And Missouri went down as well. Okay, so now we just have this one last Frede de Gros, and that'll be game. I'm gonna aim for the superstructure a little bit so I can get some pens, but it doesn't look like it's gonna give me any. That's fine. I think the turrets ate it up, so if I shoot the turrets again, I probably could destroy or damage them at least. Ooh, secondary got a fire. Nice. Let's aim for the tower again, since I was still just ricochet off the hull. 7 pens that time at that angle for 13,000 damage. Pretty good. Secondary's doing a little bit of damage here and there. On fire again. That's okay, because with this salvo, or at least it would have been, that would have killed that Frede de Gros. Alright, so let's see how we did. Pretty good damage game, I think. 387,000 damage, almost 400k. 10,700 base XP. With all my buffs, I have 17,000 free XP. And we sank 2 ships, had 98 shell hits, shot down 5 aircraft, 11 citadels, 1 fire, and 107 secondary hits. Armor piercing, since that's all we used, was 371,000 of our total damage. Fires did 10,000. Secondaries only did 5.5 or so, but there wasn't really any good chance for us to use our secondaries in a way that we would get damage from them. Like I said, if you're close enough to targets that have a lot of broadside armor, like battleships, your secondaries are going to shoot them all day and not do anything except maybe light the occasional fire. But even then, it only lit the 1 fire at the end of the game. So your secondaries, you want to use those farthest range possible to try and get some good plunging fire, but you're not a really good secondary ship. You don't want to be that close anyways. Your main thing are your 18-inch guns, and as you can clearly see, they do hurt a lot. But just don't get broadside or any kind of angle. As long as you do that, you'll be okay. With that, I will wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe for further content. And join me next time while we go over the stats clash for the Tier 5 carriers, as well as a general review of all Tier 5 ships. So again, thank you and take care.